How billionaires made $2 trillion during global crisis. As global economic growth slowed to 2.6% in 2024, just above the 2.5% threshold typical of a recession, the top 1% of the planet cashed in big. That's right. Shocking statistics released by Oxfam International have revealed that 204 new billionaires emerged in 2024. But that's not all. Billionaires' wealth ballooned by a staggering $2 trillion. That's about $5.7 billion every day. How was this possible when 2024 marked the third consecutive year of growth below the pre-pandemic rate? With the number of people living in poverty barely seeing any change in 3.5 decades, it is a wonder how billionaires' wealth surged from $13 trillion to $15 trillion in just 12 months. Not only was this growth rate 3 times faster than in 2023, but it is the second largest annual increase in billionaire wealth since we started keeping records. In fact, the world's 10 richest people grew by an average of $100 million a day, which means that even if they were to lose 99% of their wealth in a day, they'd still be billionaires. In 2023, Oxfam predicted that the world's first trillionaire would emerge within the decade. That has now changed. We could see at least 5 trillionaires in this decade. The truth is, the privileged few have captured the global economy faster than anyone could have imagined. How did this happen? Tech rally and stock market boom. Despite 2024 being a generally slow year for most industries, it was an extremely good year for tech. This is especially thanks to massive growth in the artificial intelligence space, among other high-growth tech areas, which is why the top 5 billionaires who gained the most wealth in 2024, with their net worths climbing a collective $542 billion, all come from the tech sector. At the top of the list is, of course, Elon Musk. Not only did he finish the year as the richest man on the planet, but his wealth almost doubled, increasing by a whopping $239 billion. His gains largely from Tesla and SpaceX. Mark Zuckerberg, who owns 13% of Meta, gained an additional $85 billion in 2024. Meta saw significant gains in 2024 thanks to its massive ad business and investments in AI. Other top gainers included Jensen Huang, Larry Ellison, and, not forgetting, Jeff Bezos. In comparison, some billionaires whose wealth mainly comes from luxury retail, like Bernard Arnault and Françoise Bettencourt-Meyers, lost double-digit billions. Inheritance, monopoly, and political power. While the surge in tech was the primary engine that drove the $2 trillion gain in billionaires' wealth, there were systemic advantages that you could say pushed this wealth accumulation even further. Oxfam's findings contradict the general perception that billionaire wealth is typically earned. In fact, according to the organization, about 60% of wealth held by billionaires comes from inheritance, monopoly power, or crony connections. Many of the ultra-wealthy, especially in Europe, trace most of their wealth to historical colonialism and exploitation of poorer countries. Unfortunately, this exploitation only ended on paper. Today, vast sums of wealth still flow from the global south to the global north in what can only be described as modern-day colonialism. How bad is it? A 2023 report revealed that the richest 1% in the US, UK, and France reportedly extracted $30 million an hour from the global south. On the other hand, low and middle-income countries are still trapped in a debt loop, spending nearly half of their national budgets on debt repayments to rich creditors in the north. So, you could say that much of these billionaires' gains were taken, rather than made. Tax giveaways for the rich. Layer on the rulebook. The United States, home to the largest number of billionaires, nearly twice that of China, also runs a tax code that often prefers wealth over wages. Passive accumulation is treated more gently than labor income. Unrealized gains go untaxed. Long-term capital gains are typically taxed at lower rates than many paychecks. Step-up in basis can wipe away decades of appreciation at death. And the well-known buy, borrow, die playbook, borrowing against stock instead of selling it, lets the ultra-rich fund lifestyles without triggering large tax bills. The result? Billionaires frequently pay a lower effective tax rate than ordinary workers. Want a scale check? By some calculations, it would take 10 workers roughly 726,000 years to earn what the 10 richest US billionaires made in a single year, and those workers would likely face higher tax rates on their income than the effective rates faced by those at the top. Even more striking to critics is that policymakers in Washington have signaled continuing or renewing provisions that benefit capital, rather than closing them. which means the math that produced 2024's spike could very well accelerate. Extend the preferences, keep the buybacks humming, maintain the platform moats, and billionaire wealth may notch an even bigger jump this year. So, here's the uncomfortable summary. While global growth limped along, asset prices, especially in AI-driven tech, exploded upward, inheritance and monopoly power amplified the gains, and a tax code tilted toward capital locked them in. That is how billionaire wealth swelled by $2 trillion in a year when the world felt poorer. Over to you. Do global crises benefit billionaires more than periods of prosperity? Or do crises simply expose how the system already works? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown useful, hit the like button, subscribe, and watch the next video in our series.